Hey everyone, Randomness Guy here. So, I don't really do this often, but I do it on my spare time when I can. My buddy, his computer's outdated and it's had some issues. One second. So the first issue he ran into where he requested my help was his graphics card, which is a PNY GTS 250 1 gigabit graphics card from God knows when. Well, I don't know if you're able to see it on the camera. Hopefully it'll focus on it. It kind of smoked up. Smoke started pouring out from the back of the computer, and he came to me. He's like, "Yo, this happened." I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll just take that out." And what I ended up doing was I had an old an NVIDIA GT220, which is this right here. I couldn't remember what the fuck it was. It's basically the equivalent of that. It does the same, has the same gigs, same everything. So, and then in the process of putting this in, the computer still wouldn't turn on. So, or having issues. So in that going out, and then it shorted something out in the motherboard. So this is an AMD processor. I cannot remember for the life of me what it is. I think it's a Phenom something, but he's like, well, I want to do better games on it. So he plays Diablo 3 quite a bit. So I'm like, all right, I'll get you hooked up, and we're looking at just upgrading the GPU for now. Anyway, so he does have a OCZ semi-modular power supply. It's having issues, so I'm connected to the PCIe. I put in the new graphics card that I got for it. Well, not new, but we'll get to more of that in a second. I hooked this up to it, and there's just not enough power. I mean, it's a 700 watt power supply, and for some reason it just is not performing. This is a really old computer from his. So what I'll be doing is things I'll be stealing from this is the hard drive and the disk drive. That's it, because I got everything to replace this thing. New case, so I got the only things that are going to be new is the case and the fans and a 120 gig SSD for boot and all that stuff. So basically he's getting a whole new computer. Now the title in this video is accurate and it is true. Other than the case and the fans and the SSD, which are three things I don't go cheap on, because a case, you always want to make sure you get the perfect case for the person who it's for. Like mine, I have a NZXT Phantom 410 mid-tower. It's got blue LEDs, all the fans are new, the case was new, and all that stuff, because this is somebody's personality. So I sent him a few dozen case options and stuff like that, and the one that he picked out is the one that I have sitting right there. And I'm going to go ahead and get all the parts on the table and explain what's going on. So, I got the new case up here. This is a Fractal Design Focus G. So the way this case is set up, and it's just really a good cheap case. It's $58 on Amazon right now. It's got comes pre-installed with two front white LED fans. I got these to go in the front, because the way he has his room set up is the computer faces forward. So I'm actually going to move these fans to the back, so one exhaust in the back, and then I'm probably thinking about putting the other one just on top. So it has a perforated grate up here and a filter that's on the bottom right here that comes off. And then in the front, I don't think there is a filter in the front. I guess there kind of is a filter. The crazy thing is there's no really way to get to it other than unless you take off the fans. So kind of a design flaw there. It should have a slot or something so you can pull it out from the side or the back or something, but there's nothing. So it's got the hard drive bays right here. Got two of them. So as far as SSDs go, it has a mounting on the back for an SSD. But for the most part, it's a good, solid case. It does have the disk drive. He does play games that do have disk, like Diablo 3. So I'm going to throw the disk drive in there. I already took that out of there, just to make the case, oh well. So, what comes in this is some screws, some more screws, and according to The Verge, tweezers. We got tons of tweezers. We got 4 tweezers. And just in case we don't have enough tweezers, I got more tweezers. They're white, but it's on the back, so if I need to use the black ones, they'll be on the front, white ones in the back. Whatever. I'm very picky about cable management. You'll only see the cables going there from weird places in the back because I can't stand the cables. So, other tool you'll need is, according to The Verge, we need an Allen wrench. So, I don't own Allen wrenches. This is just a Cobalt screwdriver set. I don't need all of these. You'll never need all of these, but I just grabbed it out of my toolbox because I'm like, whatever. So, for right now, this is all we need. So, the parts list. So, like I said, the only and a 120 gig SSD. So these parts are new. These are parts you don't cheap out on. You don't cheap out on fans because you just don't. You want new fans. I do. I put new fans in my computer. Used fans, especially ones as old as that. I think that computer setup's probably 8 years old. They are making clicking sounds and weird sounds I don't like. So don't cheap out on fans. And SSD, I got a SanDisk. In my eyes, it has all the ratings it needs to, and I've always used SanDisk, well, SanDisk, if I can say it right today. So those are the new parts. Used parts. This right here is a H81M from ASRock. So it's basically Asus motherboard, ASRock. I bought this with 8 gigs of RAM with a Core i7 4790, and it comes with the OEM fan, if I can say it right, I don't know. So the one thing it is missing is the I/O shield. So I'm going to end up making one just out of some cardboard and then spray painting it black, because as much as I would love to try to track down the I/O shield for this, it is damn near impossible. Then you're going to pay out the ass for it, so it's just not worth it when you can just use cardboard. So I bought this whole setup, so the motherboard, RAM, and CPU with the cooler, for $200. So in my eyes, not a bad deal. That's basically the heart of the computer right there. As long as you got that, you're basically golden, other than power supply, which we'll get to in a second. So, jacked his DVD drive, well, CD-ROM, DVD drive thingy. And then I have here a Asus Strix 970, 4GB DDR5 graphics card. He plays Diablo 3. He doesn't do any like extreme gaming like you know, Counter-Strike, or I don't know, Counter-Strike's the thing. Anyways, he doesn't do anything like super crazy with gaming. He mostly just plays Diablo 3. He does want to expand his gaming library, and this card is going to give him the perfect ability to do that. So I was running this on my computer for a minute, and through the Heaven benchmark in ultra settings, I was getting solid 55, 60 frames a second in ultra settings. So this is plenty for what he's going to do, especially paired with the i7-4790. You're going to have plenty of CPU and plenty of graphics, and then it does have 8 gigs of RAM, which hopefully, I mean, in the future, if he decides that the RAM isn't enough, then we can just swap it out. But let me see what. So we're running at 4 gigs times 2, DDR3 at 1800. I think that's 18. Yeah. So I mean, it's not the world's fastest RAM, and it's not the world's best RAM, but it's RAM. So I know that's a really stupid statement. Don't copy me on that. Don't leave comments. I know that's stupid, but for what it's worth, he doesn't do crazy stuff with his computer, so it's perfect for what he needs it for. So, and then on top of all of this, if I get the cord off, it's going to be powered by a Corsair 850M. So this is my old power supply that I had in my computer. It's a semi-modular, so the 24 pins right here. And then you have your CPU connector, so the CPU power and all that. So I do have the correct ones for this, sitting right there. So this is a good power supply, plenty of power for what he needs it for, and even still pretty new. I mean, there's not even a speck of dust in there. I mean, I don't run my computer as much as most people do, so my computer stays pretty clean nonetheless. So, but we will continue on. So that is all the parts that will be going in here. I forgot to tell you. This right here, spent $150 on, and for how much GPUs are going for right now and everything, it's just a crazy amount. It's dumb. So, but for 150 bucks for a 970 Strix, I mean, to me, that's perfect. No problem. I'll take that all day. And so I got 150 in this, 200 in the motherboard, RAM, CPU. So that's 350. We got a $58 case. So we're looking at 408. And then the two fans came out to, I think it was 22. So 430-ish, if I'm thinking right. And then the SSD was 30. So looking at under 500. So my main goal was to keep this whole entire build under 500. And we are right on track with that. So the things you'll need: thermal paste, screwdriver crap, and the Verge tells me these are tweezers, so plenty of tweezers. So I use TG7. It works really well, and I've never had a problem with it. I have an AIO in my computer, and it's never had an issue, and keeps pretty cool. So let's go start putting this thing together. There you go. So I'm going to try to keep my bald ass head out of this as much as I possibly can. Let's make sure we're set up right. Sweet. So basically, I disassembled everything, so we're all in pieces here. Originally, I had taken off the thermal paste that was on here so that I could inspect it, make sure it is the i7-4790. I don't know if you can see that on there, but that's what it is. So then we're going to start. I haven't installed anything. I did the boring stuff. I put in the standoffs. I swapped the front fans out for the red fans, and then moved one of the front fans to the back as an exhaust, so we're good to go there. And remove the CD tray, the blocking off the CD tray. I took that off. So did all the boring stuff. Now we're going to go to the fun stuff. much as it kills me to do this, I have to mount the SSD floating right here. I realized that one of my SATA cords is not for this power supply at all, so I had to kind of stretch, if that's anything, the one SATA cable from the hard drive to the SSD to the drive, because he uses an optical drive. So sometimes you just have to work with what you got, and there's three prongs on, like three connectors on it. So 1, 2, 3, and I have to float this in the middle. But I mean, it's an SSD, so it doesn't need any support or anything like that, and it's sitting on the graphics card there, so not too worried about that. So we're going to fire it. So this is the first time I'm powering it on. Let's see here. So right now it has no boot, so it is a little loud, and mostly to the fact that there's only 2 connectors for, well, fan headers on the motherboard, so I had to connect these 2 fans to a Molex 12-volt connection. So it's going to run, you know, a little loud, but where he has it, it's not going to be too big of a deal. I would like to eventually get the right SATA connection so I don't have to stretch this, and I can put this where it's supposed to go. But for the most part, it works, and for the most part, it's a pretty clean build. I mean, not very many wires showing up through. I mean, there's a couple of weird snaggy parts where it looks weird, I guess, but that's on my end. But for the most part, it looks pretty clean. This right here, I don't know where that's sticking through. So, alright, well, give it a look-see and go from there. So we'll go ahead and hook this up to a monitor and see what happens. So, thank you, Tess. So, I got this thing to run. I got the computer up and working. So I just have it in the lowest settings and DirectX 11, anti-aliasing up to 8 times, you know. So we're gonna see what it do. I initially ran this and it was terrible. I just threw it up to see what would happen. And how does 7, 8 frames a second sound? So it's running the GeForce GT 220 with memory up to 79 megahertz with 625 1300 megahertz as far as the processor, and then the memory is 790 megahertz, and then the graphics 625 megahertz. So this is what he was running before his new system, and this is in, like I show you right here. So this is low settings, DirectX 11. So we got low settings. If I crank this up to ultra, let's just throw it on ultra, see what happens. I mean, this thing is like bottlenecking like no other. So we're gonna throw it in the ultra settings. It took forever for it to load in the first place, so we'll see what happens. But I don't even want to throw this thing in Cinebench. Like, that's how bad it is. I have a feeling if I throw Cinebench on, it's gonna be an ugly mess. So this is his old computer. So this right here. So it's an AMD. 4 frames a second is where we're at right now. We are really cooking it. We are definitely getting somewhere. The crazy thing is, even though we're hitting, 3 and 4 frames a second, this thing is cooking, and it's only at 49 degrees C. So I mean, as much of a load it can take, it's not really doing too bad. I can't even, before, whenever I pulled this up in Ultra, I couldn't even get the mouse to pop up at all. So we're going to go ahead and quit this. So we're going to fire up Cinebench, just to make sure everything can take a load. Anyways, so right here it shows that we have the i7-4790, 4 cores, 8 threads at 3.6 gigahertz, Windows It's supposed to be Windows 10, but for some reason Cinebench doesn't like Windows 10. I don't know. 64-bit and GeForce GTX 970. So we're going to go ahead and do the CPU run, and we're also going to, while that's doing that, I know it kind of doesn't help the score whenever I'm thinking around, but CPU-Z. Why do I need CPU-Z? I don't know why I'm doing that. We're just going to go back up here and go into HW monitor, go into 64-bit. Not going to update yet, so we're going to go ahead and do that and that. So right now we're running at 67 degrees Celsius. We're at 100% utilization on all cores, and we're running at a 3.7 with the boost, so we're looking at about 3.8, 3.798. It's close enough to 3.8, we'll call it good. So it's just a stock cooler, so we're not expecting too much as far as like super cooling like on my liquid cooled computer mine. So looks like we're hitting, let's see here, package is at 73 is the max. We had one core jump up to 74. And now for our score, looking at 739, so just a typical 4790. So now we're going to do the OpenGL, which puts a load on the graphics, so in the GPU. So sorry I don't have any sound hooked up to this, because I don't care about sound that much as far as when I'm doing this crap. So and again, we're going to look at the temperatures. Pop up HW monitor. I'm going to go down to the NVIDIA. So we're at 48 degrees, 49 degrees C. So 120 degrees Fahrenheit. So sitting at a pretty decent amount. And it's staying relatively cold. I mean, we're not hitting any like super 100% or anything like that. So let's see what our score pops up as. 110.56, so that's kind of where we should be. Let's see here. What do they got? I don't know. So, I don't really have any other way of doing frames per second. I do have the Heaven benchmark, but I forgot to pull that over, so 1 second. So we're going to do the Heaven benchmark. We're going to see what kind of frames per second I get off of the system. So we're running at, graphics is at 1455 megahertz, so 1.5 gigahertz, and then memory is at 3500. And we're sitting at 67 degrees C. And there we have it. Frames per second 70, score is 1776. Minimum frames 8.9, 8%, 1% lows, and then the 1% highs 130.7. So it shows right there the 4790 with the GTX 970. So custom quality ultra and 1080p. So there you go. Definitely a massive upgrade from what he had previously. He had a PNY piece of crap, and then he had my GT220. So this just blows it out of the water. So I think he's going to be very, very happy with what we've done here as far as upgrading his system. I am leaving the plastic on this outside acrylic because he's going to peel that off himself when he gets it home, because I am a firm believer in the owner gets to pull the plastic. So, but thanks for watching, and be sure to like and subscribe to Randomness Guy, and have a good day. Yeah.